And welcome, this is now Edexcel's S1 June 2011 question 5. Okay, so we're given this table and I'll just read it out. Obviously you can see it online. We've got the time of group 2 to 8, 9 to 12, 13 to 15, 16 to 18, 19 to 22 and 23 to 30. The midpoints of each of these groups are 5, and then the 9 to 12 midpoint is what we're being asked to work out in part A, so I put A for that. The group midpoint of 13 to 15 is 14, 16 to 17 is 18, 19 to 22 is 20.5, and 23 to 30 is 26.5. Okay, the frequency of each of these groups corresponding is 2, 7, 5, 8, 4, 4. Right, the first thing that you should spot quite clearly is, well, these mod points look like they obviously respond to each one of these, and obviously they do. However, what we don't have here is overlapping, okay? So it's 2 to 8, and then there's a gap of 8 to 9, so which one goes in where, alright? So what we need to do is add 0.5 onto each side of the range, okay? So they overlap. So this 2 becomes obviously 1.5. This 8 becomes 8.5, 9 becomes 8.5, the 12 becomes 12.5, the 13 becomes 12.5, the 15 becomes 15.5, and so on. So we get 15.5 to 18.5, and then 18.5 to 22.5, and 22.5 to 30.5. And then you just apply that method to the midpoint, work it out. So the way of doing it is you can add 12.5 and 8.5 together, and then divide by 2, which should get you a midpoint of 10.5. Okay, so that's all it wants you to do for part A. As I said, you didn't have to do that, but it's going to be helpful when we come on later on to work out, well, part B actually, we're asked to work out the median using linear interpolation. Okay, so the method for linear interpolation, to refresh your memory, is the lower bound of the group plus brackets the number of places into the group over the frequency of the group. Not the frequency, over the group width, and that's all multiplied by the frequency. Okay. Now the reason that is because, well, we don't know the exact points of each one of these. Okay, so we don't know the values. We know that there's two people or there's 2 times between 1.5 and 8.5. We don't know where they're positioned, and we use this to estimate. Well, if it's the second person, then we assume that to be at 8.5 seconds, for example, and so on. Okay. So what we're asked to do here is the median. So obviously you need to work out the cumulative frequency. So if you were to do that, you would find there's 30 people. Okay, and obviously 30 over 2 is 15. But that's not our median value, because if you were to write the numbers 1 to 30, so I'm not going to, but you know, if you want to waste some more of your life, you can, and you would circle 15, you would have on one side, obviously, you would have a different set of numbers you would have a different amount of numbers to the amount of numbers on the right hand side of 15. Okay. So what you need to do, therefore, is to pick between 15 and 16. So basically, if you halve an even number, okay, you pick the one, you add 0.5 to that number. In other words, you choose. So if you halve the number and we get 15, you choose it to be between 15 and 16, which is obviously 15.5, which is our median number. So therefore, if you were to pick out 15.5 and split that, you would have exactly the same amount of numbers on either side. Okay, obviously they wouldn't really exist, but you get the idea. So it's a 15.5 number, and we look where the 15.5 number would occur. I always state this, okay? The 15.5 number is 1.5 units into the 15.5 to 18 group. So it's in the group that I've just started there. Okay, so what we need to do, therefore, the lower bound of that group is clearly 15.5. That's why we needed to split the groups up. As I said, it's 1.5 into that group, because obviously we want to get to 15.5, and that's over the group width, which is obviously 18.5 take 15.5, which is obviously 3 times the frequency of that group. But we look at the frequency, well, that's 8. Okay, so you times it by 8, and if you were to sub all that into your calculator, you should get a value of 16.06 or 25 or 16.06 to help it up. Okay, and that's obviously in seconds. All right, so that's part B over and done with. Okay, so I'm just going to write the median over here because I want to rub this out. Now we've got that to be 16.06. Okay, so the next part asks us to find, so let me just double check, it asks us to find the standard deviation. Okay, now obviously we're going to have to do quite a bit of calculation to be able to work this one out. Now we should know that the standard deviation is obviously the square root of the variance. It's just one of the things that you should know. And as we know, if we obviously the variance, you still put it under the square root because I may still make it equal to the standard deviation. It is obviously the sum of x squared. Because we're looking at it from the context of group frequencies, it's the sum of fx squared over n take the sum of fx all squared, okay, over n. Okay, so that's pretty much, basically, it's the mean squared, it's the mean, all of that, sorry. So it's the sum of fx squared over n take away the mean squared. In other words, you can apply that formula to other situations. Maybe not in other words, because it's different. Yeah. Anyway, shut up. Okay, so we are told, sorry, one thing I've not wrote down, that the sum of fx squared, so there's a bit of a head start, is 8,603.75. And obviously we know n being equal to the number of people, okay, is 30. Okay, so there are two values we've got. Therefore, if we look at this and compare it, the only value we need is the sum of fx, because obviously we clearly don't have that. The sum of fx is just the midpoint times the frequency, okay? So it's 5 times 2 plus 10.5 times 7 plus 14 times 5 plus 17 times 8 plus 20.5 times 4. Sorry, my writing's a little bit scruffy. Plus 26.5 times 4. And you'd work that out and simplify it all down, obviously, and you would get 477.5 over 30, or in other words, 15.91. That's what you mean. We sub it into this formula, okay? So, obviously we know the sum of fx all squared. So we know the sum of fx squared, which is 8,603.75. But we do that, we divide that by 30. Okay, we take that away from 15.91 all squared. Okay, and that obviously would get you there for 5.78, which is the standard deviation. Now, if you did what I did and didn't realise you had to divide the fx squared by n, you would obviously get a value of the variance, the value of the standard deviation as well, which is something like 30. And if you think, well, the range is just 3 standard deviations either side, and our mean is, I don't know, it'd probably be somewhere around 12.5-ish, I would imagine, okay? Our mean is 15.91, and if there's a standard deviation, so there's a standard deviation of 30, and we've got 3 on either side, that's clearly far too much. So we need something a lot more reasonable, something in the realms of 5 or 6, okay? Obviously for this question that was bang on, but you get what I'm trying to say. Alright, so that is the standard deviation. Okay, so that's kind of just familiar when you say, as I said, that formula is given in a very roundabout way in the formula sheet. Okay, so part D says, wait, I actually haven't had the paper with me, I've just been going off my answers, okay, and building up the question. Right, So part D, the answer is because the mean and the median are similar. I do apologise, I've just lost the sheet with me. So I'll probably pop on the screen now what the actual question is, or obviously you can look online. I'm not going to try and waste my time trying to find it. Okay, so part A asks us about the skewness of the data. Is it symmetrical? Okay. It says comment on the skewness of the data. Now the skewness is the distance between the quartile and the median. Okay. So it's obviously the distance between the upper quartile and the median, and the lower quartile and the median. Well, we're obviously given a few values. Now, I'm just going to rub this off because I don't want it on the board. Okay, because we're given a few extra values and we need to be able to work it. Sorry, excuse me. So we're told a couple of values. Now, it should be told them is quarter one, cube one is 8.5. Now, we're not in a business meeting. That doesn't mean forecasting predictions. Quarter one just means the lower quartile, but you need to familiarise with these. Quartile 2 is 13, and quartile 3 is 21.0. Okay, so you might want to label that as the lower quartile, the median M, and the upper quartile Q3. Alright, so what we need to do is we need to look at the distance between Q1 and Q2 and Q3 and Q2. Okay, and if you were to work that out, the distance between Q1 and Q2 is 4.5, okay, and the distance between Q3 and Q2 is 8. Now the distance between what you would do is Q3 take Q2 is larger than Q2 take Q1. Basically, the data, there's a greater spread, okay, so there's a greater distance between the upper quartile and the upper quartile and the median than there is between the median and the lower quartile. Okay, so what does that tell you? Well, that says there's a greater spread of data between the upper quartile and the median. So therefore, you can just say, therefore the data is positively skewed. And that is all you need to say. So really you need to state these two facts, okay? You state that there's a greater difference between the upper quartile and the median than the lower quartile and the median, therefore the data is positively skewed. Okay, so they're the 2 points that you need to bring in for question part A. Okay, so as I said, I'm sorry about not being able to go off the bat with the answer for the question for part D, but as I said, it's online and I'll probably put it on the video if I remember to, or if you want me to, just please do. Let me know if I forget to. Okay, so thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Hopefully should be question 6. My voice went a bit high there. Weird. Anyway, see you in the next video.